Well, hello there. Welcome back to the lab. What do you think? Is that pretentious? Basement? Fuck it. Welcome back to the basement. Today we're going to look at something... Ooh. There's no electronics. There's no code. It's just kind of like an art project, I guess. It's like a desk toy. It's made of magnets and steel bearing balls of 3 different sizes. All of the magnets here are all pulled out of old hard drives, which is something else I'll show you how to do. I super glued 3 magnets to the top, 3 magnets to the bottom, and I have something like 40 loose magnets. I'll show you how I made this. I designed the enclosure and 3D printed it. The finishing on 3D prints, you know, my 3D printer is not like amazingly accurate, so it was an adventure. There may not be any code or electronics here, but it was still very tedious. You could build a structure up where the bottom and the top will be stuck firmly to the enclosure, and then you can use all the little thin magnet pieces to kind of build the structure coming through. It's like weirdly zen getting a configuration that will reach top to bottom and not fall over. If you're gonna throw your hard drives out anyways, you might as well take them apart, pull the magnets out. You can make something cool like, oh shit, I just tapped it. Make something cool like this to have on your desk. Maybe you're sitting out in your foyer. I don't know, what's a fancy place you'd put a desk toy at. So, okay, let's take a look at how I did it. The first thing we'll have to do is pull together a lot of magnets. Pretty much every hard drive I've ever taken apart has had 2 magnets. One above and one below the read heads. They're usually pretty easy to get out. Just unscrew and remove the top of the hard drive, unscrew the top magnet, pull that out, unscrew the read heads, pull that out, and then finally unscrew the bottom magnet and pull that out. I love these magnets. They're surprisingly strong for how thin they are. You'll see that they come mounted in these metal brackets. We'll have to find some way to get those out of there as well. I used this prying tool I got off the internet. It was a little fiddly, but not too bad. I've been collecting these magnets for a while and they've all had the brackets on them, so I was removing these for a while. I also broke most of them in half or in thirds so there were more magnets to go around. 3D printing your own enclosure is optional, of course. You can reuse any random thing you have laying around the house. Maybe find something from the Goodwill or from the dollar store. Or just put these in a box and build it up like Legos. I actually had an enclosure in mind, so I 3D printed it. I'll just run through the process of finishing it real quick. Of course, the first thing I did is remove all the extra material and file down the surfaces so they're nice and smooth. Then I welded all the pieces together with acetone. I like acetone because it doesn't make a huge mess and it's a really strong bond. You just have to be careful that you don't apply too much and you don't apply it on really thin-walled parts because it might melt them. I use small clamps to hold everything together. That way there's lots of surface contact. Once all of that's dry, I use Plumber's putty to fill in the large gaps. Sometimes I'll use wood filler as well, it just depends on what I have on hand. Then we begin the long journey of priming and sanding, over and over and over again. A good thick fill primer makes life a lot easier with this step. Eventually it'll either look perfect or you'll give up. At that point you could finally paint it and call it done. The last step in construction is just gluing down your permanent magnets. These will act as a base for securing the top and bottom of your sculptures. They're not required, but they do make it a lot easier to build bigger structures. So this is what it's like building sculptures with it. I start from the permanent magnets on the top and bottom and build toward the center. It's not action-packed or anything, but it is pretty relaxing. Plus what you end up with is usually pretty nice to display. I think it's interesting how almost organic it looks with all the different size bearing balls. So yeah, pretty basic build. You really don't have to 3D print this or even recover the magnets. You could buy an enclosure from the dollar store and get magnets from the hardware store online or something if you wanted. But it's always nice to recycle stuff when possible. Anyways, thanks for checking the video out, and I guess there's no GitHub code to share on this one, so just have a good week.